Guys, it's Thursday today. How are you? I'm good. I'm still in my cast, will be for a few more days, but my fingers are less swollen today, so I'm trying to use them a little bit more. I'm doing pretty well. It's still very hard to write though. And it's hot. Ooh, I was outside for a little bit and I could just feel sweat. Yuck. Don't like it, don't like it, don't like it. Anyway, today is Thursday. Remember to stick your tongue out. That's a TH word. Today is Thursday, not Thursday. Heaven forbid I'd be wearing fur today. I would be really, 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 really hot. And poor Stella and Annie are kind of sticking to inside. So, because they're dogs, they're covered with fur. Yeah, okay. So today is Thursday, June 4th, and the number 4 is written like this: down and over and down once more. That's the way to make a 4, okay? So let's go ahead and write it big down here, down and over, kind of like an uppercase L, and then put a large lowercase l, and down once more. That's the way to make a 4. And we need to add a little dot there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So today is Thursday, June 4th, 2020, or 2020. Okay? Now, I got an interesting little video today from Aurora. Hi, Aurora. Good job on the magnets. And she wanted to do a little science. So her mom was helping her do a little science today. And so she learned some things about magnets. Now, I have a couple of things here. This one I found down by my washing machine. It's just a little black thing. And you can see it's got a paper clip stuck to it. And it also has a staple stuck to it. But they're not really stuck to it. This is a magnet. So it's magnetized. So that's a magnet. Don't know whether it's just a piece of a magnet or what it is, but it's definitely a magnet. Then I went outside and I found this. This is also a magnet. I knew it was outside because Mr. Larry uses it when he has a big fire in our fire pit to get nails out, because he doesn't want the girls going through the fire pit when it's cool and stepping on nails from some of the wood that's been put in there. So I cleaned it up a little bit. This is called a horseshoe magnet, and this is a very strong magnet. Very strong. This one is not so strong. And look at this. This is another thing I found that I own. This is a pin cushion, although it's not really a cushion, but inside here there's a magnet, and it's a very strong magnet, and it holds my straight pins when I'm sewing. So, and I can, of course I have to be very careful, I can make little designs with my pins and whatnot. And a couple of times I've dropped a whole bunch of pins on the floor and I just run the magnet over it and it just picks the pins up, which is very helpful. You don't want to step on a pin. They're kind of long and very sharp. So you don't want to step on a pin. So, and it just pulls certain kinds of metals to it. Now, what Aurora was doing with her magnet, we know that when things are magnetized, if you can see that magnet is drawing the pins up, and this magnet is stronger than this magnet, so it just pulled that one pin right off. But what Aurora was doing, she wasn't showing me the magnetized side, she was showing me the repelling side. So that one, but I can't get that magnet any closer to this one. You see the paperclip went, but this one, when I put them together like that, there's a very strong push away. That's called repelling, and that's what Aurora was showing me. But you see, when I turn that magnet a different way, the other side, it pulls it right in. There's a positive side and a negative side to magnets. And when you put the two, I forget which it is, when you put them this way, one of the sides, they repel each other. They won't go together. But when you put them this way, they go together. So see if you can find some magnets around your house and play around with them. See the kinds of things they stick to. They stick to some metals, they don't stick to others. So see about that. Thank you, Aurora, for that tip. That was great. Okay, so it's still hard for me to hold and flip cards, so we're not going to do our cards today. So I hope you're keeping up with your sight words. All right, but we are going to do sentences today. So let me take the top off that. It's still hard to grip things. Mr. Larry still has to open a lot of things for me. Okay, so I have 3 lines. And the first one says, "What is that?" Is that a sentence? Sure looks like a sentence. It has what looks like words. It has an uppercase letter at the beginning. It has spaces in between. And it has punctuation at the end. It has a question mark. This is asking a question. What's the problem with it? Do you know? What at is that? Well, if you haven't guessed already, the problem is that this and this are not close enough together to make that a word. It's "wha" and "at." But when we put those letters together, and I'm using my blue to show you here what I'm doing. I'm going to write that A and T. Now, is that a word? It's the word "what." So now, do we have a sentence? We have 1, 2, 3 words. We have spaces between the words, 2. We have an uppercase. We have a punctuation mark, a question, and it's asking a question. What is that? W-H-A-T is what. What is that? And that's a TH word. Stick out that tongue. What is that? What inspired me to write these sentences? I was just out on my deck looking for the magnet, and there was a bird sitting on the deck railing, and he was singing a happy song. Happy song. So I wrote these groups of words. Okay, now the next one says, this is a TH word, "That is a bird." Have we got words? Yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 words. Do we have spaces? Yes, we do. 1, 2, 3. Do we have an uppercase? No. Gotta fix that. Okay, now we have an uppercase T. That is a bird. Do we have punctuation? Yes, we do. Is it a complete thought? Yes, it is. That is a bird. Just like this is a complete thought. What is that? I'm pointing. What is that? That is a bird. Now, next one. I like how it sings. Does it have words? Yes, it does. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. Does it have spaces? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Does it have an uppercase letter? Yes, it does. Does it have punctuation? Oops, no. Is it a complete thought? Yes, it is. I like how it sings. We're talking about the bird here. So instead of using "I like how the bird sings," I just used it. That's called a pronoun. You'll learn that way later. But what we need here is punctuation. So I'm going to put an exclamation mark or an excited mark. I like how it sings. I like how it sings. It's a happy little tune that bird was singing. I think it was a catbird. It wasn't a robin. It wasn't a blue jay. It wasn't a cardinal. It wasn't a red-winged blackbird. I think it's a a catbird. So, with that, I'm just going to turn my fan on because it's warm out today. It's very warm out today. Even though yesterday I think was very warm, there was a beautiful breeze blowing. There's not so much of a breeze today. And I was talking on the phone to a friend of mine. Oh, you know who I was talking to on the phone? I was talking to the real Easter Bunny. I was talking to her on the phone. Yeah, we were talking about Easter and how, she was wondering if I had found where she hid my jelly beans. And I said, yes, I did. But anyway, so we were just talking about that, about her friend Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and what things she's been up. She's been hopping around. She's been checking things out, wearing her mask. Always in disguise, but wearing her mask so that she wasn't getting contagious or anything. She's fine and well. Santa's fine and well. So is the Tooth Fairy. So let me just take a drink of water here. So I was talking on the phone, and I was sitting on my porch swing out front, and I got very hot. So I'm still kind of a little hot from that. But anyway, I have a book to read to you today. This is called, and this is an old time book. It's called Jack and the Beanstalk. Have you ever heard this story? I bet you have somewhere along the line. Well, this is adapted by Sindy McKay and it's illustrated by Lydia Halverson. And this is a we both read, take your turns reading with your beginning reader. This is a both read, so there's a parent's page and there's a child's page. But guess what? I'm going to be the parent and the child today. So, Jack and the Beanstalk. And these are kind of watery pictures. So again, we're going back to those watery color pictures. Not bright, bold colors, although these are pretty dark. Jack and the Beanstalk. Now, a beanstalk is what beans grow on. My favorite vegetable, green beans. I love them. And this kind of a vine grows green beans. So, let's see. Now, check out the house. Check out what they're wearing. We don't wear clothes like that anymore. This is a long time ago. And as we read the story, if you've not heard it before, you need to think about, is this story real or is it imaginary? So think about that. Keep that in your thinker, okay? Once upon a time, a poor widow, that means her husband is dead. Here she is. A poor widow. She didn't have any money and her husband was dead. And she lived in a tiny cottage with her young son, Jack. Jack was a good boy, but he knew nothing of the world beyond his home. Didn't mean he wasn't smart or anything, just he didn't know anything about what was going on because they were poor. He didn't go anywhere. He didn't, one of those things. Well, Jack and his mother were so poor that the only thing they had to eat or drink was milk from their cow. Well, that's good. Milk is protein, so that's a good thing. Now, one day, the cow stopped giving milk, leaving Jack and his mother with nothing at all to fill their bellies. Well, I don't know why a cow would stop giving milk. I don't know, because I don't know that much about cows. So I don't know if that's real or not. But certainly a poor widow could live in a small cottage with a young boy and a cow. And they may not have anything to eat. Not all people are as fortunate as we are. So Mother gave Jack the cow. She told Jack to take it to town, and she told Jack to sell it. Wasn't going to do them any good if it wasn't giving milk. So Jack did as he was told. Looks like Jack loves the cow, though. Looks like the cow might like Jack. Well, Jack set off toward town and had not traveled far when he met a woman and said, "Good morning, Jack." "Good morning," he replied, surprised that she knew his name. "That's a fine-looking cow," said the woman. "I will trade you 4 beans for it." Does that seem like a good trade to you? It doesn't to me. 4 beans means each of Jack and his mom can each have 2 beans. Beans aren't very big. You think that's going to fill their bellies for a while? I don't think so. Well, Jack looked up at his big cow, and he looked down at the small beans, and he said to the woman, "No, thank you." That was the right thing to say, I believe. "You drive a hard bargain," said Jack, the woman replied, "but I want that cow, so I will give you 5 beans for it." It still doesn't seem like a good trade to me. Then the woman whispered in his ear, "These are no ordinary beans, Jack. They are magic. They hold the answer to all of your dreams." Real or imaginary? I don't know about magic beans, but we'll see. Jack had many dreams. He wanted to see his mother happy, so he gave the woman his cow, and he took the beans to his mother. How does his mother look? Does she look happy? I would be very angry if my kids did that. Jack told his mother the beans were magic, but she did not believe in magic anymore. So she threw the beans out the window and then sent Jack to bed with an empty stomach. But the next morning she was surprised to find a great tall beanstalk had grown outside their window. But Jack was not surprised at all. Now, beanstalks don't usually get that tall at all. Jack kissed his mother goodbye, and then he went up the beanstalk to find his dreams. And when he got to the top, he found a very big house. How can you have a house on top of a beanstalk? Real or imaginary? What about a beanstalk growing up in one night? Real or imaginary? I think imaginary on both. I planted some seeds last week, and they're just about, I hope, to come up. I don't know, it takes seeds a while. As Jack walked toward the big house, he was once again met by the woman who traded him the magic beans. She told him that a horrible giant lived in the house, and that when Jack was very young, this very same giant had killed Jack's father and stolen all he owned. So you see, Jack, everything in that house really belongs to you and your mother. Now, I've never heard this version of the story before. I have heard about the house at the top, and I've heard that there's a giant who lives there, and he's a very mean giant, but I haven't heard that he killed Jack's father and stole everything. So we'll see. I still don't believe there's a house at the top of the beanstalk. Well, Jack knew what he had to do. He had to get his things back. He had to get them for his mother. He had to get them from the big, mean giant. As Jack neared the huge house, he spotted the giant's wife sweeping the doorstep. Does she look like a nice lady? Not so much. Jack was scared. He knew that little boys were a favorite meal of both giants and giantesses alike. So he did not ask to be invited in. Instead, he grabbed her broom and was swept through the door. Now, remember, this is a giant. So if you look very carefully right here, there's Jack. This is a very big person. Giant means very big. So this is Jack. He's being swept on her broom through the door. Everything in the house was very big. It made Jack feel very small. It also made him feel very scared, and he did not want to meet the giant again. Suddenly, Jack heard the sound of enormous footsteps. He scurried up a curtain cord to a high shelf where he quickly hid behind a sack of gold. Then he heard the giant shout, "Fee, fi, fo, fum!
I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread.
Oh, he sounds like a good guy, doesn't he? Doesn't look very happy either. The giant came into the room. He was very big and very mean, and the room shook with each step he took. So here's Jack. And here's that big old giant. The giant began to tear the room apart looking for Jack. His wife, upon hearing he was looking for a yummy little boy, eagerly joined in. But soon the giant grew tired of looking and ordered his wife to bring him his sacks of gold instead. Uh-oh! Look who's in the sack of gold. The giant took the sack that Jack was in, but he did not open it. The giant took another sack and began to count his gold. Well, that seemed to make the giant very happy to count his gold. Fortunately, the giant was not very good with numbers, and he had to keep starting over with 1. This tired him quickly, and soon he fell asleep. I bet he's got a big loud snore, too. That's when Jack tiptoed from his hiding place to stare in awe at the giant's gold, which really belonged to him and his mother. Look at all those stacks of gold and all the gold in the bag. Jack knew what he had to do. He had to get his gold back. He had to get it for his mother. He had to get it from the big, mean giant. Jack hoisted a stack of gold upon his back. Then, so the giant would not think it missing, when he awoke, Jack replaced the gold with a sack of beans. Quiet as a mouse, Jack slipped out of the giant's house, then ran all the way to the beanstalk and quickly slid back down to earth. So here he is with the gold, which is very heavy, sliding back to earth. I don't know the little boy could carry that much gold because gold is heavy. Jack's mother was very happy to see Jack and the gold, but she did not want Jack to ever go back up the beanstalk. But Jack knew what he had to do. Several days later, Jack climbed up the beanstalk once more. He ran straight to the giant's house and heaved a huge rock at the big front door. When the giant's wife opened it to see who was knocking, Jack slipped into the house behind her. So he sneaked in. Pretty good. When Jack went from room to room, he saw many things the giant took from his father. And then the house began to shake. The giant was home. Uh-oh, trouble brewing.
Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread.
Jack gasped in fear as he crouched behind a nearby cage to hide. From there he watched in terror as the giant and his wife tore the room apart looking for him. Jack sat very still, and he did not make a sound. And soon the giant got tired of looking, and he and his wife gave up. They don't seem like they're real interested in getting that boy. The giant ordered his wife to bring him his cage with the golden goose. Do you think there's such a thing as a golden goose? Imaginary. Oh, see, that very cage behind which Jack was hiding. Uh-oh, troubles. Jack scampered into the shadows and continued to watch as the giant took the goose from its cage. What Jack saw next nearly took his breath away, for the golden goose began to lay golden eggs. Looks like there's 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Can a goose really lay golden eggs? Imagination. Jack knew what he had to do. He had to get his goose back. He had to get it for his mother. He had to get it from the big, mean giant. Even when he's happy, that giant looks mean, I think. The giant soon grew tired of watching the wondrous goose lay golden eggs, and with a yawn and a stretch, he fell asleep. That's when Jack tiptoed from his hiding place and grabbed the golden goose. Then, to keep it from honking, geese honk, Jack snatched a chunk of bread and fed it to the goose as he fled. That's a pretty big goose. Jack ran out the door and he ran down the road, and then the goose went honk, and the giant woke up. Yuckos! The giant leapt from his chair to chase Jack, his huge strides bringing him closer with every step. Jack jumped onto the beanstalk just as the big mean giant reached out his arm to grab him. Luckily for Jack, the giant missed. Jack went down the beanstalk. His mother was at the bottom. She was glad that Jack was safe. She did not want Jack to ever go back up. But Jack knew what he had to do. The next time Jack returned to the giant's house, he sneaked in through an open window. Once inside, he heard a haunting voice singing a beautiful song, and he followed the sound and found the giant listening to a magic harp. A harp is an instrument that you sit at to play. It's a beautiful sounding instrument, and it's difficult to learn. I have a friend who plays the harp, and it's a beautiful sound. Maybe you can have mom or dad Google harp music and you can listen to a little bit of it. It's beautiful. But it needs a person, because it's got strings right here. It needs a person to play it. But this is a magic harp. Is there such a thing as a magic harp? No, but in somebody's imagination there was. Jack knew what he had to do. He had to get the harp back. He had to get it for his mother. He had to get it from the big, mean giant. But suddenly, the giant ordered the harp to stop singing, and he put his nose into the air to sniff. Uh-oh, what do you think he's smelling? Jack froze. He knew what was coming next. Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread. The giant looked for Jack. His wife looked for Jack. But they got tired and they gave up. Like they always do. Do you think Jack is going to get the harp? I bet he is. Let's see. The giant ordered the harp to sing again, and this time she sang a lullaby. Well, you know what that did? Before long, the rafters, that means the roof of the house, were shaking with the giant's mighty snores. I told you he had big snores. That's when Jack tiptoed from his hiding place and grabbed up the magic harp. And then, to keep the giant from chasing him, he hid the giant's shoes inside a cooking pot. Pretty clever place to put the shoes, although I don't think I would eat what's in it after the giant's shoes were in there. Jack ran out the door. He ran down the road, and then the harp began to sing and woke the giant up. The furious giant jumped up to chase Jack. Immediately, he realized that his shoes were missing. And this only made him even more angry and more determined than ever to catch Jack and gobble him up. The giant frantically searched for his missing shoes and then finally gave up and chased Jack in his bare feet. But look what he found. in his bare foot. A nail. Whoa, he looks angry, doesn't he? Jack ran very fast, but the giant ran even faster. Jack went down the beanstalk, but the giant went down the beanstalk too. See, here's Jack, here's the harp, here's the feet of the giant. Jack slid down the beanstalk in the wink of an eye, and then he shouted for his mother to bring him the axe. This was an axe right there. What do you think he's going to do? I think you're right. With 3 mighty whacks, Jack chopped that beanstalk down. The plant toppled and crashed down to earth, and with it crashed the big, mean giant. That was the end of the beanstalk. That was the end of the giant, too. And Jack and his mother lived happily ever after. So Jack killed the giant and got the gold. Got the goose that lays the golden eggs, and also got the magic harp. So now they had enough money. All right, guys, I will see you for the most important day of the week tomorrow. I bet you know what it is because we've already had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. What comes next? You know it. Got a song to sing. So in the meantime, I'll see you tomorrow. Be good. Have fun. Be nice to people. Love you.